I woke up this morning and couldn't remember my youngest son's voice. He's been gone 11 years now, and somewhere between then and now, the sound of him just faded. I can see his face perfectly. I remember how he laughed, but the exact sound, gone. I am 103 years old, and this is what nobody prepares you for. Not the dying, the forgetting. I've spent a century learning things the hard way about family, about money, about what getting old actually does to you. And most of what I learned contradicts everything I was told. They sold us a beautiful lie about how life is supposed to work. Today, I'm going to tell you the ugly truth, because there's one thing I wish someone had told me at your age. And if I'd listened, I would have lived completely differently. Let me start with the first lie I believed for 60 years. The lie about family. Family doesn't owe you anything. And here's the part nobody wants to hear. You don't owe them everything either. Christmas, 1962. I can still see it. My mother's dining room, the good china, 14 people around that table. I looked at my sisters, my parents, my children, and I thought, this is forever. Blood is thicker than water. Family is everything. That dinner was a lie. Every smile at that table was hiding something. My sister Ruth didn't speak to me for 23 years. Not a word. She died in 2004. I found out 3 weeks later from a cousin. 3 weeks. My own sister. You want to know what our fight was about? I don't even remember. 23 years of silence over something I can't recall. And she took whatever it was to her grave. But I'm not going to stand here and pretend I was the victim. I wasn't. My son, James, asked me to come to his school play in 1971. He was 12. He had one line, and I said I was too busy. I wasn't busy, but I was tired. He's 76 now. He still remembers I wasn't there, 53 years later. But here's what took me decades to understand. That guilt I carried, it was useless. What matters isn't the mistake, it's what you do after. Most people hear this and think I'm saying family doesn't matter. That's not what I'm saying at all. The family you end up with isn't the one you were born into. It's the one you keep choosing, and who keeps choosing you. My neighbor Margaret visited me every Sunday for 15 years, brought soup, sat with me, listened. My nephew Richard calls once a year on my birthday, forgets half the time. Margaret knew more about my life than my own brother did. She's family. He was just related to me. Stop waiting for your family to become what you need them to be. Start showing up for the people who already show up for you. That's the real family. Everything else is just genetics. But family wasn't the only thing I got wrong. I wasted 40 years worrying about something even more useless. Something you're probably worrying about right now. Money. I grew up during the Depression, 1934. I was 12 years old, and I watched my father sit at our kitchen table and cry over a stack of bills. A grown man, sobbing. I'd never seen him cry before. Never saw him cry again. That fear never left me. Every financial decision I made for the next 70 years came from that one image of my father crying at the kitchen table. So I saved, I sacrificed, I said no to things I wanted. My husband Charles, my second husband, he wanted to take me to Italy in 1978, Rome, Florence, Venice, a trip he'd been dreaming about since he was a boy. You know what I said? We can't afford it. We had $47,000 in savings. We could afford it. Charles died in 1980, 45 years old. Heart attack at his desk, working overtime for our future. I still have that savings account. The money is still there. Charles isn't. Now, I'm not telling you to be reckless. I'm telling you something harder. Money is for using, not for hoarding against a future that might never come. But here's where it gets uncomfortable, because I'm about to tell you something that sounds completely hypocritical. I'm glad I have money now. It pays for my nurse. It pays for this room. It pays for not being a burden in the way I always feared. But here's what it bought me: survival. Not happiness, not a single moment of joy, just continuation. You want to know what I think about when I look at my bank statement now? I think about all the things that money represents. Not security, unused life. Every dollar I saved was an experience I didn't have, a trip I didn't take, a gift I didn't give. My friend Eleanor had nothing. She died in a tiny apartment with 17 people crammed around her bed, crying, laughing, telling stories about her. I have everything. I'll probably die with one nurse checking her phone. The cruelest thing about money is this: you spend your whole life earning it, and at the end, you realize you can't buy back a single Tuesday afternoon you traded for it. So if family isn't what they promised, and money isn't what they promised, what about the thing I thought would finally make sense of it all? Getting old. Surely that's when the wisdom kicks in. Here's the biggest lie of all, the one I believed until I was about 90. The idea that getting old brings wisdom, that someday it all makes sense. There's nothing graceful about getting old. Your body betrays you. Your mind plays tricks. You become invisible. Last week I couldn't open a jar of pickles. I just sat there and cried, not because of the pickles, because I used to be strong. I used to carry my sons on my shoulders. Now I can't open a jar. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is the loneliness. And I don't mean being alone. I mean outliving everyone who knew you when you were young. Everyone who remembers the person you used to be. There's no one left alive who remembers my wedding day. No one who remembers what I looked like at 25. That version of me only exists in my own head now. And when I go, she goes too. But here's what I didn't expect. Here's the part that nobody tells you about being this old. When you lose everything, you finally see what was real. I don't care what anyone thinks anymore, not because I'm brave, because it genuinely doesn't matter. The opinions, the judgments, the keeping up appearances, all of it falls away. And what's left is surprisingly light. You want to know what I actually think about now? It's not what you'd expect. I think about a Tuesday in 1967. William, my son who died, he was 8 years old. He fell asleep on my lap while I was reading, and I didn't move for 2 hours. My leg went numb. I didn't care. That's it. That's what stays. A random Tuesday when nothing happened, except I was there. Not my wedding, not my promotions, not the house I bought or the money I saved. A Tuesday afternoon when I was just present. That's the ugly truth about getting old. The moments that mattered were never the big ones. They were the ordinary ones. You almost didn't notice. I can't remember my 50th birthday party. I remember the smell of Charles's coffee on a random Saturday morning. I remember the way the light came through the kitchen window while he read the newspaper. And here's what breaks my heart. You're having those moments right now, today, this week, and you're probably not paying attention. Not because you're bad, because nobody taught you to. The tragedy isn't that life is short, it's that we're awake for so little of it. So what do you do with this? What's the actual point of me telling you all of this? Here's what I know you're thinking right now. I'll remember this. I'll be different. You won't. You're going to forget everything I said within a week. I know, because I forgot too. Every time someone told me to slow down, to pay attention, to stop postponing, I nodded and then did nothing. But there's one thing that might actually stick. One thing I wish I'd known at 33. You don't have to get it right. You just have to keep returning. Every time you notice you've drifted back into distraction, into busyness, into taking people for granted, That's not failure. That's the work. Notice it, return, remember, and return. That's all I should have done. Not perfectly, persistently. I've been alive for 37,595 days, and I can count on two hands the number of days I was truly, fully there. That voice I forgot this morning, my son's voice, I'm going to spend today trying to remember it. Not because I'll succeed, because that's what love is, trying to hold on to what fades. That's all any of us can do. Try to remember what matters before it fades. You have time right now. You just don't believe it yet. Go prove yourself wrong. Not tomorrow, today.